In this video, I made everyone's favorite plumber, Mario.
Oh yeah.
But it's Resident Evil. To start this abomination off, I sketched out a plan. Let's lightning round the armature because it's both boring to watch and to do. All I really did was use a massive amount of tinfoil and wire to make the general shape of what I want Cursed Mario to look like. Where did I get all the tinfoil, you ask? Well, I've eaten a lot of chicken nuggies, preferably dino nuggies. The armature came out looking like this, which was a clear giveaway on what Resident Evil monster Mario is. But only Resi fans will be able to suss it out. I'm going to be using oven baked clay because I love it. Okay, let's do a base layer of clay, which is just to cover up the armature. As you could see, I was deliberate with placing the clay. I was able to put in a lot of detail by just following the shape of the armature. He's not quite Mario yet, so his pronouns are... After baking, I started adding detail like the all-important belly fat. Yeah, very important. Here comes an eye. I wanted to use something solid as a base for the eyeball, and I had a few options, but ultimately I used tinfoil. Boring, huh? I wrapped it with clay and then began to roll it to make a ball shape, and this took me a little while. After baking, I cleaned it up with some sanding and the ball was finished. I attached it and spent probably an hour adding various noodle shapes of clay to create the eye socket. I used a sculpting tool to blend it all together. This is the most basic way to sculpt, by the way. I probably could have added much more detail, but I really didn't know how to do that, mostly because I don't know what I'm doing half the time. But it looks pretty good right now, and I think it gets the idea across. There's probably some professional sculptors out there screaming their heads off and maybe ripping out their hair, but you know you're watching rebuilds, which basically stands for doing often other kits in each closing roll using skill tricks, or dookie crust for short. Next I made his claw fingers, which were once again noodles that I pinched together with my fingers. Yes, it's all noodle action in this video. I baked the claws and then sanded them to refine the shape. I added some extra detail to the base of the claws. I wanted to make them look like they're protruding from the hand flesh. That's a proper medical term, by the way. And I actually liked how it looked. In fact, I really liked the thumbnail. I think it came out really good. Next, I wanted to add whatever the heck this is. After blending, it was looking surprisingly very good. And once I added one more noodle, I think the right arm was done. After baking, I noticed that the left arm was not positioned right, so I decided to cut it off and remake it. But not remake it like this, but like this. As I was making the arm, I thought it would be a good time to make Cursed Mario's head, and I started with a lump of clay. Lump! I formed it into a rough Mario head-shaped thing. Next I cut and scooped out an eye socket. I was going to do one eye, but I added another eye socket off camera later. I stabbed in a quick mouth, then I added Mario's clown nose, and it doesn't look too bad, meaning that it looks vaguely like Mario, which is the goal. Remember kids, this is how to basic. I quickly attached the head, then added the eyebrows and an ear. I put together the iconic Mario hat, or at least the front of it. I wanted it to look like it was partially absorbed into the fleshy part. Before I added the iconic mustache, I gave him some teeth for his gob. Then I put his stash on. To finish up the face, I added one eyeball, and then I blended the left side of the head into the monstrous side. Okay, almost done. I just had to add some clothing.
Good grief, he's naked!
I stretched out some clay and I wrapped a thin piece of clay over Mario's naked body in an attempt to make his red sweater. and I wanted it to look like the monstrous part ripped through it when he turned. Next, I made his overalls. It was easier to do it in 2 pieces, so I started with the legs and worked my way up, making sure to blend it all together. The only thing I sold on was the straps or strap. It doesn't look very good. I should have paid more attention to it. Okay, that's how I made Cursed Mario from scratch. And I admit, this was a quick and dirty job, but I think I did enough to get the idea across. Okay, for painting, let's start with the fleshy arm. As a base coat, I use this burgundy red, which I believe is not a red, it's just a brown cross-dressing as a red.
It is ma'am!
Being an idiot, I forgot to add the Mario label on the hat, but that's not surprising, given I'm a PlayStation boy. Back to painting, I used a blue and purple combo to add some color variation to some of the noodles, or I guess they're fleshy veins now. Next, I added some gray to select spots, mainly to the parts that are supposed to be bones. After that, I dry brushed it with a red, and it gave me the color I wanted for the fleshy part. I applied khaki on all the bony parts and the claws. I added a little more detail to said claws by using a lighter version of khaki. Basically, I just added more white to khaki with each layer I put on the claws, until it looked like, well, like claws. Time for the eyeball, which is probably the most important part of the entire build, and I'm going to use these colors. Seriously, Kowai, what do you want?
They are all against me. They all must die.
I used the orangey red as a base coat, then layered that with a yellow. Then I stupidly added a black dot to it.
What is this?
Yeah, I sold. This is where I started to panic. I added a green, then a yellow, and finally another black dot for the pupil. In hindsight, it actually doesn't look terrible, but in the moment, I was sweating. Moving on, I painted the Mario bits. I started with his face, and since I don't know how to mix up a skin color, I just used a lighter peach color. Next, I painted his stash, which is black, by the way. Why is his mustache black, Nintendo? Does he dye his stash? I guess it's a question mark. I finished his face by painting his eye, and I'm kinda vibing with that soulless look, so I left his eye blank. I painted his hat and sweater with a plain red. I also used a plain blue for his overalls. The last 2 things I painted was his shoes and the M on his hat. Painting is done, and I could use washes to blend the bright colors, but I like the odd, clean look of Mario. It's really unsettling, and that's exactly what I wanted. Cursed Mario needs a quick and dirty base, and all I had was these wood plugs that I cut from a tree branch. Be careful, Kowai. Somebody could get hurt. I painted the base black, then glued Mario on. He's all done, but I have to address the eye. And after crying a lot, I thought up a plan. I started with a coat of UV resin to make the eye shiny, then I thought I was smart and I used black thread as the veins in the eye. Yeah, didn't work as well as I thought. Next, I took the L with my painted eyeball and just used one factory-made glass eyeball. I picked one that matched the color of the eye, and after drowning it with more UV resin, I think I saved the whole video. If the before was Separate Ways remake, then the after was the original Separate Ways. That's how much I like the eyeball now. And that's how I basiced Cursed Mario.
Look how they mess with my boy.
Well, it's done, and I bet you're wondering...
Why?
Well, truthfully, I thought it would make an interesting video. But I guess I am kinda bullying Nintendo nerds with this video. However, I don't think anyone should care what I think. I'm just a dude who plays with his friends that are dolls in my closet. Alright guys and gals, I want to thank you for watching up until this point, and if you like this video, give it a like, and please consider subscribing. If you are a Resident Evil fan, like me, please share the video with your Nintendo friends, for some laughs. Tune in next time for another Nintendo/Resident Evil collab. Okay, time is up. Always remember, be kind, rewind, and I'll see you in the next one. Later!